Fight me. The challenge cut through the music and stopped every conversation in the glass ballroom. Sabrina Vale stood barefoot on the polished floor, her silver heels abandoned beside the stage. Her designer gown had been gathered above her knees, and a confident smile curved across her face. Opposite her stood Kira Dawson, the black maid Sabrina had spent the evening humiliating. More than 200 guests watched from beneath the suspended chandeliers. Investors raised their phones. Reporters turned their cameras toward the confrontation. At the center of the crowd, billionaire Ethan Cross stared at his fiancée in disbelief. "Sabrina, this ends now." She ignored him. "You've been acting brave all night," she told Kira. "Let everyone see whether you're still brave without a serving tray in your hands." Kira remained calm. "I don't want to fight you, because you know you'll lose." "No," Kira replied, "because you're angry, unbalanced, and standing on a floor covered in spilled champagne." A few guests laughed. Sabrina's smile tightened. Then she attacked. 3 seconds later, she was on one knee with her arm controlled behind her back, her cheek inches above the marble. "Stop," she cried. "Let me go." Kira had not punched her. She had not kicked her. She had simply stepped aside, redirected Sabrina's momentum, and lowered her safely into a hold she could not escape. The entire ballroom fell silent. But nobody yet understood why Sabrina had challenged the maid, or what Kira had discovered beneath the rehabilitation laboratory 40 minutes earlier. Earlier that evening, the Crosswell Innovation Center had opened its doors for the most important launch in Ethan's company history. The building housed a new generation of robotic rehabilitation equipment designed to help injured patients walk again. Ethan had invested nearly $400 million into the project after watching his younger brother struggle through years of physical therapy. Sabrina had become the public face of the launch. She wore white at every interview, spoke beautifully about hope, and told reporters she wanted advanced treatment available to ordinary families, not only the wealthy. The staff knew another version of her. She insulted cleaners for leaving fingerprints on machines that had not yet been polished. She ordered employees to stand for hours during rehearsals and threatened anyone who questioned her instructions. Kira had worked at Ethan's estate for 10 months, but before that she had spent 4 years assisting at a community rehabilitation gym. She understood basic therapy equipment, patient restraints, and the difference between normal soreness and an injury caused by unsafe machinery. That knowledge became dangerous 2 days before the launch. One of the estate gardeners, Luis Moreno, had been selected for a private demonstration after an old leg injury made him an ideal volunteer. Sabrina promised him the session was harmless. He returned unable to place weight on his knee. Sabrina ordered the staff not to call a hospital. "The machine only frightened him," she said. "If anyone reports an injury before the launch, the investors may delay funding." Kira found Luis sitting alone in the service room, shaking from pain. "Did the safety system stop when you asked?" she questioned. He shook his head. Miss Vale told the technician to increase the resistance. She said the investors needed dramatic results. Kira arranged medical care through Ethan's longtime physician. The scan showed torn ligaments. When Ethan learned Luis had been injured, Sabrina claimed Kira had allowed him to use restricted equipment without permission. Ethan did not immediately believe her. But the laboratory access log showed Kira's staff code opening the testing room. Someone had used her identity. The launch gala began before she could prove it. Kira continued working while investigators quietly reviewed the system. Near 10 o'clock, she saw Sabrina enter a private elevator with Dr. Nolan Pierce, the project's lead engineer. Kira followed through the service stairwell. The elevator opened beneath the laboratory, where unfinished machines were stored away from inspectors. Through a narrow glass panel, Kira saw Sabrina and Nolan standing beside 3 injured workers. One wore a wrist brace. Another leaned on crutches. "These people signed confidentiality agreements," Nolan said. "They'll remain silent," Sabrina replied. "They need their jobs." And Luis. Blame the maid. Her access code was already planted. Nolan opened a metal cabinet containing safety reports. Every document described machine failures, excessive resistance, and emergency shutoffs that did not respond. Sabrina had known the equipment was dangerous. She had continued testing it on household employees because a delayed launch would cost her millions in private investment bonuses. Kira took out her phone and began recording. A reflection moved across the glass. Sabrina was looking directly at her. Security seized Kira before she reached the stairs. Minutes later, she was dragged into the ballroom while Sabrina climbed onto the stage and announced that the maid had been caught stealing confidential company files. Kira refused to hand over her phone. Sabrina grabbed for it. Kira moved it behind her back. "You injured Luis and the others," she said loudly. "You knew those machines were unsafe." The guests turned toward Sabrina. Ethan stepped forward. "What is she talking about?" Sabrina saw fear spreading among the investors. She needed to turn the accusation into something personal and ridiculous. "She's obsessed with me," she declared. "She has resented me since the day she entered our home." Kira shook her head. "This has nothing to do with jealousy." "Then prove it." Sabrina stepped down from the stage and removed her heels. "I've heard you used to compete in judo," she said. "You act superior because you think nobody here can touch you." Kira's eyes narrowed. She had not spoken about judo since leaving competition after her sister's accident. Someone had searched her past. Sabrina lifted her hands before the cameras. "Fight me. If you win, I'll let everyone hear your recording. If you refuse, you admit you fabricated the entire story." Ethan moved between them. "This is not a game." Sabrina shoved past him and struck Kira across the shoulder. Kira took one step back. "Do not do that again." Sabrina laughed. Then she rushed forward in front of everyone, certain an ordinary maid would either freeze or fight wildly enough to be arrested. Instead, Kira turned, and Sabrina's confident smile disappeared. Sabrina's cheek hovered inches above the marble. "Stop," she cried. "You're hurting me." Kira's grip remained controlled. "I'm not hurting you. Stop fighting the hold." Ethan stepped closer. "Kira, release her." The moment Sabrina stopped struggling, Kira let go and moved back. Sabrina rose unsteadily, clutching her arm. Her silver gown was stained with champagne, and every camera in the ballroom was pointed at her. "She attacked me," she shouted. "You challenged her and rushed at her first," Ethan replied. "I was proving she's dangerous." A reporter near the stage raised her phone. The video shows the maid trying to avoid the fight. Several guests nodded. Sabrina's humiliation turned to panic. She looked toward the two security guards who had dragged Kira upstairs. "Take her phone." Kira held it against her chest. "The recording belongs to Mr. Cross." Ethan extended his hand. "Give it to me." Kira unlocked the screen and opened the video. The first seconds showed Sabrina and Dr. Nolan Pierce beside the injured workers. Their voices were clear. "These people signed confidentiality agreements," Nolan said. "They'll remain silent," Sabrina replied. "They need their jobs." Then the screen went black. File corrupted. Kira tried again. The video had been remotely erased. Nolan stepped through the crowd wearing a calm expression. "There is no recording because no conversation took place." "You deleted it through the company network," Kira said. "That is impossible." "You designed the security system." Nolan faced Ethan. "She entered a restricted laboratory using stolen credentials. The system automatically removed unauthorized footage." Ethan looked at Kira. "Did you enter without permission?" "Yes. After I saw Sabrina take the private elevator." Sabrina laughed bitterly. "So, she admits stalking me." "She followed you because Luis was injured," Ethan said. "Luis injured himself." A voice rose from the ballroom entrance. "No, I didn't." Luis Moreno stood with his knee braced and a hospital crutch beneath one arm. Beside him was Ethan's longtime physician. The guests parted. Luis looked terrified, but he continued. "Miss Vale ordered the technician to increase the machine's resistance. I told them to stop 3 times. Sabrina stared at him. "You signed an agreement." "I signed a demonstration form, not permission to tear my leg." The physician handed Ethan a medical report. "The injury is consistent with forced resistance from the rehabilitation device." Ethan turned toward Nolan. "You told me the safety system made that impossible." "It should be impossible. But it happened." Nolan glanced toward Sabrina. That single look told Ethan they shared more than a professional relationship. Kira stepped toward the stage. There are at least 3 other injured employees beneath the laboratory. Security Chief Aaron Blake ordered his officers to inspect the lower level. Sabrina blocked him. You cannot interrupt a private research program in the middle of an investor gala. Ethan's voice hardened. This is my company. And my project, she snapped. The room went silent again. Sabrina realized what she had said and quickly softened her tone. I mean the project I've devoted 2 years to protecting. Protecting from whom?
Kira asked.
The workers it injured? Aaron's radio crackled. Sir, the lower laboratory is empty. Kira stared at him. There were 3 people inside. We found wheel marks, medical wrappers, and blood near one machine. No workers. Nolan had moved them during the confrontation. Ethan ordered every exit sealed. An alarm immediately sounded from the research wing. System failure. Rehabilitation floor. Nolan checked his phone and went pale. The machines have activated remotely. What does that mean? Ethan demanded. If anyone is still restrained inside, the devices will begin their programmed cycles. Kira remembered the injured workers. One man had been secured inside a standing frame when she recorded Sabrina. They didn't remove everyone, she said. They left one person behind. She ran toward the service elevator. Ethan followed. Sabrina grabbed his arm. Let security handle it. He pulled free. You've controlled security all night. The elevator descended beneath the ballroom. When the doors opened, mechanical alarms filled the corridor. Kira found the first injured worker lying unconscious beside an empty restraint frame. The second room contained a woman trapped inside a robotic walking device. Its motors were forcing her injured legs to move faster. Help me, she screamed. Kira struck the emergency stop. Nothing happened. Nolan's system had disabled manual control. Ethan tried to pull the restraints open, but they were electronically locked. Kira opened the maintenance panel and removed 2 power cables in the correct sequence. The machine stopped seconds before the woman's knee twisted beneath her. How did you know which wires? Ethan asked. I repaired older therapy equipment at the community gym. The woman clung to Kira's arm. They made us test the machines at night. Miss Vale said we would lose our jobs if we told anyone. Ethan looked toward the camera above them. Its red light was still blinking. Where is the footage stored? Central control room, Kira replied. They reached it and found the door open. Inside, every monitor showed files being deleted. Nolan stood before the main server with the portable drive. Sabrina was beside him. You should have stayed upstairs, she told Kira. Ethan stared at his fiancée. You knew people were being injured. Sabrina removed her engagement ring and placed it on the console. I knew this company would be worth billions after tonight. I wasn't going to let frightened employees destroy that. This was never your company. She smiled coldly. It will be in 11 minutes. A legal document appeared across the central screen. Ethan's digital signature was already attached. The agreement transferred the rehabilitation division and its patents to a private company owned jointly by Sabrina and Nolan. Only one approval remained. Ethan's live biometric scan. Nolan locked the control room doors. Then the injured machines throughout the laboratory began activating again. Authorize the transfer, Sabrina said, or every employee still connected to our equipment becomes the cost of your refusal. The machines roared behind the locked control room doors. 6 warnings flashed across the wall. Patient restraint active. Manual override disabled. Biometric approval required. Sabrina stood beside the scanner. Place your palm here, she told Ethan. The transfer completes and Nolan releases every machine. Through the glass, 2 employees remained trapped inside active devices. You planned this before the gala, Ethan said. I planned for resistance. Kira moved toward the nearest terminal. Nolan raised a stun gun. Don't. She stopped and studied the room. The system had 3 power feeds. Cutting the wrong one could lock the restraints permanently. How long do they have? Ethan asked. Nolan checked the screen. The woman in room 4? 6 minutes before the damage becomes irreversible. Sabrina pushed Ethan toward the scanner. Choose quickly. Kira examined the agreement. It required Ethan's live voice phrase as well as his palm. That gave them time. Let him read it first, she said. One wrong phrase, and the transfer rejects. Nolan glanced at the screen. She was right. Sabrina shoved the document at Ethan. Read. He began slowly, stumbling over the legal wording on purpose. While Sabrina corrected him, Kira watched the reflection in a dark monitor. A maintenance cart stood outside the glass, its metal handle touching an exposed conduit. She shifted half a step. Nolan noticed. I said don't move. Then the trapped woman screamed. He turned his head. Kira kicked the cart through the partition. Its handle struck the conduit. Sparks exploded. The lights died. For 1 second, every magnetic lock released. Ethan drove his shoulder into Nolan and knocked away the stun gun. Kira forced open the door and ran to room 4. The robotic device was pulling the woman's injured leg beyond its safe angle. Kira tore open the lower panel. The emergency brake cable had been cut. She wrapped the remaining cable around a steel bar and pulled. Ethan. He reached her and added his weight. Together they forced the mechanism backward until the restraints opened. The woman collapsed into Kira's arms. Across the laboratory, another machine accelerated. Sabrina had restored backup power. Her voice came through the speakers. You saved one. There are 3 more. Kira studied the floor map. She's lying. The pressure sensors show weight only in room 7. They found Luis strapped inside a vertical frame, his damaged knee locked straight while resistance climbed. Nolan appeared behind them with a stun gun. Step away. Ethan faced him. You designed equipment to help people walk. I designed patents worth billions. Nolan fired. Kira pulled Ethan aside. The electrodes struck the metal frame, jolting the control panel. Luis cried out. Kira seized Nolan's wrist, redirected the weapon, and forced him against the wall. Shut it down. Only Sabrina has the code. Ethan took Nolan's badge and opened the rear panel. One wire carried a handwritten label. Failsafe, do not disconnect. That label is the trap, Kira said. The real break is the unmarked line. She removed it. The frame released and Ethan caught Luis. Alarms sounded above them. Police and fire crews had arrived, but the outer doors remained sealed. Sabrina appeared on the upper walkway holding Kira's phone. You wanted evidence? She called. Here it is. She held it over a chemical disposal tank. The recording had not been fully erased. A local copy remained on the device. Sabrina dropped it. Kira ran beneath the railing and caught the phone before it hit the liquid. At the same moment, Nolan broke free and rushed toward the exit. Ethan tackled him beside the stairs. Sabrina pressed another control. A steel partition descended between Ethan and Kira. Ethan, the barrier sealed. On Kira's side, disposal pumps began drawing chemicals into the floor drains. On Ethan's side, Nolan pulled a knife from his sleeve. Sabrina's voice filled the laboratory. The gala cameras show the maid attacking me. In 5 minutes, this place will show her destroying the project and killing its founder. Kira checked the cracked phone. The video was still there. Then a message appeared from an unknown number. Don't trust Security Chief Aaron Blake. He gave Sabrina your access code. Kira looked toward the corridor camera. Aaron stood outside with the police, pretending to help them enter. In his hand was the master key that could open every door or trap everyone inside forever. Chemical vapor began rising through the drains on Kira's side of the partition. She covered her mouth with her sleeve and studied the message again. Don't trust Security Chief Aaron Blake. Outside the laboratory, Aaron stood beside the police commander, pretending the master key would not work. The system has been corrupted, he said. We may need to breach the wall. Kira looked toward the corridor camera. Aaron was buying Sabrina time. On the other side of the partition, Nolan drove the knife toward Ethan. Ethan caught his wrist, but Nolan slammed him against the control console. You should have sold the division when Sabrina offered, Nolan hissed. You injured people to increase its value. They were employees. They signed forms. They trusted us. Ethan struck Nolan's hand against the console. The knife fell, but Nolan reached for the stun gun beside the stairs. Kira searched the chemical room. The descending barrier had cut through a maintenance pipe, leaving a narrow gap near the floor. She pushed her cracked phone beneath it. Ethan. He saw the screen light up with Aaron's name and understood. Then Kira found the disposal system's manual pressure wheel. Turning it would redirect the vapor, but into the central control room where Sabrina was hiding. She activated the intercom. Sabrina, unlock the partition. Sabrina laughed through the speakers. You're in no position to negotiate. The chemicals will reach your control room in less than 2 minutes. Silence. Kira turned the wheel halfway. A warning flashed. Disposal flow reversed. Inside the control room, Sabrina saw vapor rising beneath the door. She unlocked the barrier. The moment it lifted, Kira rolled beneath it and shut the pressure valve. Ethan tackled Nolan before he could fire the stun gun. Kira trapped Nolan's wrist against the floor and removed the weapon. Where is Sabrina? Nolan smiled through clenched teeth. Already leaving with the patents. The control room door stood open. The server drive, original safety reports, and experimental design files were gone. Kira helped Luis into a wheelchair while Ethan contacted the police commander directly. Do not follow Aaron Blake's orders. Detain him. Aaron heard the message through his radio. He ran. Kira saw him disappear toward the freight elevator carrying the master key. He's going after Sabrina. Or helping her escape, Ethan replied. They followed him to the building's underground loading level. The emergency doors opened with Aaron's key just before they arrived. A black ambulance waited near the exit. Sabrina stood beside it wearing a stolen paramedic jacket. 2 unconscious, injured workers lay inside. The missing server case rested between them. Aaron approached her. You promised the company would protect me. Sabrina handed him an envelope. Your payment. He opened it. Empty paper. Aaron stared at her. What is this? The part where the corrupt security chief takes the blame for stealing the patents and kidnapping employees. She raised a pistol. Aaron stepped backward. I gave you Kira's access code. I disabled the alarms. I moved those workers. And now you know too much. Kira entered the loading bay. Put the gun down. Sabrina turned. Her smile returned when she saw Ethan behind the maid. Perfect. The founder can watch his loyal employee fail one last time. She aimed at one of the unconscious workers. If police enter, I fire. Ethan looked at Aaron. Open the ambulance doors. Aaron hesitated. Sabrina shifted the gun toward him. Don't. Kira noticed the vehicle's rear step was wet with hydraulic fluid. The loading ramp had not locked properly. She moved slightly to the left. Sabrina followed her with the weapon. What are you doing? Giving Aaron a choice. Kira looked directly at him. You helped injure innocent workers because Sabrina promised money. Help them now, and at least the truth will include what you did next. Aaron looked at the unconscious employees. Then he struck the ramp release. The metal platform dropped suddenly. Sabrina lost her footing. Her gun hand swung away from the ambulance. Kira crossed the distance, redirected her wrist, and forced the weapon against the vehicle wall. Ethan pulled the injured workers clear. Aaron grabbed the server case. For one moment, it seemed he was helping. Then he ran toward the parking exit. Nolan, who had escaped the laboratory during the confusion, appeared in a waiting car. Aaron jumped inside, and the vehicle sped away with the patents and safety reports. Sabrina twisted free from Kira and climbed into the ambulance driver's seat. Before Ethan could stop her, she started the engine and smashed through the loading gate. Police vehicles followed. Kira checked the ambulance's tracking screen on the wall. She isn't escaping the city. The route led toward Crosswell's unfinished rehabilitation hospital on the cliffs. Its public opening was scheduled for the following month. Ethan's face hardened. The building contains the project's central demonstration machine. Kira understood. Sabrina no longer needed the laboratory evidence if she could stage one final accident, one that killed Ethan and blamed the unsafe technology on Nolan and Aaron. Then Ethan's phone rang. Sabrina appeared on video from the moving ambulance. Behind her, Ethan's younger brother, Caleb, was strapped inside an experimental walking frame. The machine was already active. If you want your brother alive, Sabrina said, bring Kira to the Cliff Hospital. Caleb cried out as the mechanical braces tightened around his legs. Sabrina looked directly into the camera. This time, the maid won't be fighting me for applause. Her smile turned cold. She'll be fighting the machine she claimed she knew how to stop. The unfinished Cliff Hospital shook under the storm. Wind screamed through the open glass walls as Ethan and Kira entered the rehabilitation hall. At the center, Caleb was strapped inside the experimental walking frame. Metal braces forced his injured legs through a cycle faster than his body could tolerate. Sabrina stood beside the control console. "Close the doors," she ordered. Ethan obeyed. "Release my brother." After Kira proves she can stop the machine. A timer flashed above Caleb's head. 4 o'clock. Kira approached carefully. The emergency brake is inside the lower housing. Sabrina raised the pistol. "Touch it, and I increase the resistance."
Kira stopped.
Behind Sabrina, Aaron and Nolan entered carrying the stolen server case. Both men looked exhausted and frightened. Nolan placed the files beside the console. "We brought everything. Now pay us." Sabrina smiled. "You brought evidence connecting both of you to injured workers, stolen patents, and sabotage." Aaron understood first. "She's going to blame us." "She already has," Kira said. Sabrina pressed a control. The hospital screens lit up with a pre-recorded confession showing Aaron and Nolan discussing the theft. Their words had been edited to make them appear responsible for the entire operation. Nolan moved toward her. Sabrina aimed at his chest. "Stay where you are." Caleb cried out as the machine forced his knee farther. 2:58. Ethan stepped forward. "Take the company. Take the patents. Just stop it." "You still don't understand," Sabrina replied. "After tonight, there won't be a company left for you to control." She had overloaded the demonstration machine's battery system. When the timer ended, the hall would catch fire. Investigators would find Ethan, his brother, the maid, and 2 corrupt employees besides stolen files and defective technology. Sabrina alone would survive as the betrayed fiancée. Kira looked at Caleb. "Can you move your right hand?" "Barely." "Reach beneath the wrist support. There's a manual release pin." Sabrina swung the gun toward Kira. "I said don't help him." Kira lifted her hands. "You challenged me in front of everyone because you thought strength meant winning a fight." Sabrina's face tightened. "You brought me here because that hold embarrassed you. You made me look powerless."
"No."
"You did that when you attacked someone who refused to attack you back." 1:52. Caleb's fingers found the hidden pin. Aaron noticed. Instead of warning Sabrina, he moved slowly between her and the machine. Nolan saw him and understood. Sabrina shouted, "Move." Aaron stepped sideways. Caleb pulled the pin. One leg restraint opened. Sabrina turned toward the sound.
Kira moved.
She caught Sabrina's pistol wrist, redirected it toward the ceiling, and trapped her arm against the console. The gun fired, shattering a light above them. Nolan grabbed the server case. Ethan rushed to Caleb and pulled at the second restraint. Aaron reached for the emergency controls, but Sabrina kicked the panel. Sparks burst from the machine. 0:49. The system locked completely. Kira forced Sabrina onto one knee and removed the pistol. "Stop," Sabrina screamed. "You'll break my arm. Then stop resisting." Kira released her the moment security officers entered the hall. But the timer continued. 0:31. Nolan opened the server case. "The original safety code is here." He entered the override. "Access denied." Aaron looked at the machine. Sabrina changed the administrator. Ethan turned toward her. "What is the code?" She laughed from the floor. "Watch your brother lose everything you built this company to save." Kira studied the console. Sabrina had used one phrase repeatedly throughout the project, something written across every private investor document. "Dramatic results," Kira whispered. She entered it. Override accepted. The machine stopped at 6 seconds. The restraints opened. Ethan caught Caleb as the frame released him. Police handcuffed Sabrina. Aaron surrendered and gave officers access to the false security logs. Nolan handed over the stolen server case and agreed to testify about every unsafe test. The injured workers were taken to hospitals, and their records were recovered before Sabrina could erase them. The investigation uncovered months of concealed injuries, forged access logs, illegal employee testing, and secret payments tied to Sabrina and Nolan's private company. Aaron admitted using Kira's staff credentials and disabling safety alarms. Nolan and Aaron received reduced sentences for cooperating. Sabrina faced charges for attempted murder, unlawful human testing, kidnapping, fraud, assault, and evidence destruction. At trial, she claimed Kira had attacked her out of jealousy. Then the gala footage played. The jury watched Sabrina challenge the maid, strike first, and rush at her while Kira repeatedly tried to avoid the fight. They saw Kira lower her safely into a controlled hold and release her immediately when she stopped struggling. The same guests who had witnessed the challenge testified about what happened afterward. Ethan permanently closed the unsafe program and paid for every injured worker's treatment. He rebuilt the rehabilitation division under independent medical oversight and gave employees the power to stop any test without fear of losing their jobs. He asked Kira to lead the new patient safety department. She accepted only after Ethan agreed that no executive, including him, could overrule an emergency shutdown. Months later, Luis walked into the reopened center using a safe, independently tested support device. Caleb stood beside him, still recovering but smiling. After the ceremony, Ethan found Kira near the ballroom, where Sabrina had once challenged her. "I owe you my brother's life. You owe your workers a company that listens. I'm working on that." He hesitated. "Dinner?" Kira smiled. "One dinner. No machines, no challenges, and no spilled champagne." Agreed. Sabrina had believed defeating a maid in front of everyone would protect her secret. Instead, one controlled move exposed the kind of woman she truly was. Kira did not win because she fought harder. She won because she knew exactly when to use her strength and when to stop.